So last week we talked a lot about what you need to survive in the wilderness and what we would need when we leave our homes. And one of the things that Grant and Meriwether said is that you might need a tent. We said you can survive without it, right? But a shelter is one of those things that is pretty essential. That's what we're going to be talking about today, and it's going to reference the story that we just talked about with Jesus at Jacob's well. It is. Okay. Oh, stay on camera. You gotta ask. It's on my shoulder. So Jacob is a biblical character that I think that we can get confused with a lot of other ones. So we start out with Father Abraham, and then he had a son, and that son was Isaac. And then Isaac had two sons, and his sons were Esau and Jacob. Jacob was his father's favorite. That's kind of the biblical story of things. But in order to receive his full bounty, he had to get his father's blessing and then leave his house and go out into the wilderness. It's automatically a risk when you're being asked to go out. You are more prone to hunger and thirst. You could fall, you could hurt yourself. And there's the simple fact that you don't have a shelter. You don't have a place to feel safe. Feeling safe, I think, is something we take for granted a lot. And if anything, we're looking for those experiences where we feel unsafe. Skydiving or skiing or even driving for some of you guys. Anything that makes us feel unsafe, right? That feels insecure is a little bit exciting. And I think that's got to be something like what Jacob felt when he was sent out into the wilderness as a young man to try to find his destiny. The Middle East is really rocky. It's got a lot of deserts. Generally, only sheep would be out there herding, and it's really, really dry. So Jacob goes walking along, and he comes to a well. And at that well in the desert, he meets his wife, and later on buys a plot of land there and makes his own home and makes his own well. The well that Jesus would one day visit and have his experience with the Samaritan woman. Now, when Jacob starts his family in his new home, when he's built his well in the desert, when he's built his oasis, his family becomes really big. He's the one that has 12 sons, and they become the 12 tribes of Israel, Jacob being the father of Israel. They get dispersed out into the world, and they form their own 12 nations. So they've split up this homeland into all these sections, and time again in history, they are invaded and conquered, and they fall. This idea of losing their home and eternally searching for a new home is something that is so rooted in this culture and in the Bible. If we look at the earliest Christians, finding one nation, finding one church wasn't the name of the game. They knew that they were going to have to spread and ingratiate themselves in all kinds of places. It is still how we see the world as our home, as more of a tent-like shelter than it is as a firmly foundational home. And that's because we know that we have a better one waiting. For we know that if the tent that is our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. So that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. This isn't going to do much against any kind of wilderness, but as kids, it's something that we really seek, is looking for those tiny, small places to build up our own little shelter, to build up with pillows and blankets and tarps and tents, something that protects us, to find our own space. The thing that God is asking us to do is to build bigger, right? That we're not just making towers from blocks that fall over, that we have an eternal home with a firm foundation. As he promised us in Isaiah, "My people will abide in a peaceful habitation, in secure dwelling, and in a quiet resting place." The security that we crave is not something we're going to find here on earth. Everything is temporary and every tower will fall. But the firm foundation that we are to build our shelter on is Jesus. And if we're looking at anything else as something foundational, as anything else we can trust in, as anything else that provides a shelter, we're not dreaming big enough. We need to laugh when our towers come crumbling down, because they're nothing in comparison to the promise of what heaven offers, of the security that can't be infringed upon by anything, can't be knocked down by any storms or any playground bullies. It's something that just exists forever, regardless of what we do. So this week, I challenge us all to leave our homes, right? Metaphorically or physically, whatever you want to call it, it's just about getting out of your comfort zone. And next week, with part 2 of the shelter part of our summer series, we're going to talk about finding a home in the discomfort, finding the home base within the parts of ourselves that are in transition and in flux, especially right now. There's a lot to be said for that, and we might be getting a little bit more physical, doing some yoga this week to try to find that. And I look forward to seeing you guys this week. I look forward to hearing from you guys this week. And I'm so, so grateful for you and for all the things that you have done this year and all of the places that you've gone to get out of your comfort zone. Can't wait for the summer. I can't wait to see what God has in store for us.